Are we too blue? Should I get a different shirt?
No. It's okay. We're matching. 안녕하세요. What's up, everybody? This is Tae.
And this is Gibson. And welcome everybody back to the third episode of Almost Korean.
All right. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about what's it like living near a U.S. military installation.
You mean Little America in
Little-
Korea?
Yes. So specifically, we live right next to Camp Humphreys, which is a U.S. Army base. So I don't know if a lot of people know where even Pyeongtaek is. I didn't know where Pyeongtaek was when we
Yeah.
first.
I mean, if it wasn't for my job as a soldier being stationed in Korea, I would have never thought about even going to Pyeongtaek because it's a pretty country, if you will, in Korean standard, that is.
I think it's very countryside.
Yeah.
After visiting Seoul, Busan, all those big cities,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Pyeongtaek. So just for our listeners and viewers, if you don't know where Pyeongtaek is, it's about hour and a half south of Seoul, depending where you are in Seoul. And there is a line 1 that connects right from
the highway,
the
Gyeongbo-Go속doro?
subway station.
Oh yeah, the subway.
Yeah,
Yes.
The line 1
Yep.
comes all the way down, actually past Pyeongtaek. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like, for those of you who don't know it, the Camp Humphreys U.S. military installation is actually the biggest U.S. military base that's located outside of the continental United States. And, population-wise, you can kind of compare it to a small town, maybe even a small city.
I think last time I checked, they said around 40,000 people, give or take,
that sounds about
go
right.
in and out of the base, and
Mhm.
probably a lot more if you count people living off base like us.
Absolutely. So these are counting the active duty soldiers, the DA civilians, government workers, the contractors, as well as the family members, right? So when you combine all those, it's a town.
Yeah.
And oftentimes,
it's
like, I
a
think
small
Koreans
city.
have a very rigid view of what U.S. military bases are like. They
Mhm.
think it's like all like hardcore, rigid. It's just soldiers training all the time. It's scary, but in reality, it's like an actual town inside,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It's like a little America. I mean, it's literally stepping into America.
Yeah.
Even the road names, some of the buildings. I think a lot of those, but even materials are imported.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, for me, obviously, I'm very used to this, being a soldier, going from one installation to another throughout my career. But Tay, in your case, what was it? What was it like for you when you got here?
Huh. Yeah. So when I remember going into the gate, it just felt like stepping into US, like soil. I've only been to one other US base before in the US, and that's what it felt like.
Oh, which one is that?
I've been to Walter Reed,
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
and that one, it's like in the middle of Maryland.
Right.
It just felt like a very open space. The roads are wider, parking spots are bigger. It just felt like you're in the US.
Back in America.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And for those who have not been to Korea, the power voltage is 220, right? So the power outputs are different. But
Yes.
on the installation, they use everything American standard, which makes it a little bit easier for the families that are coming in, trying to acclimate and things like that.
Yeah. So before we packed ourselves to move, we're like, oh, we have to get rid of our appliances because we have to get new ones in Korea, because we didn't realize that's how some of these homes were built. They were meant for American families, right? So we threw away a bunch of our appliances.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Or we like give them away.
That's interesting because, in my case, we get briefings on what to expect as soldiers, PCS. By the way, PCS means permanent change of station. So when we go from one duty station assignment to another one, that's what we call it. But we get some sort of briefing on that. But as a civilian, right, with your wife's case, like, I don't know what that process looks like for you guys.
So we actually did have like a meeting with like an HR person who kind of briefed us on what it was like. But I think until you experience it, you don't really know what it's like. We had our, HHG, which is household goods, basically packing up your whole life into this, container. Like, movers come, pack your stuff. So it was a whole new experience for us. This is our first time working at a U.S. base. So it was a
That's, you know what? I'm kind of curious now. Do you guys, in your case as a civilian, do you get options to live on the installation too, or is that because like in soldiers' cases, they try to fill the on post housing first,
right.
and then we get pushed outside.
So what I've heard is that there's no space
Mm.
for civilians or non-military active soldiers to live on base. So we didn't even get an option.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So when we got here, we stayed at the hotel lodging on the base, and they give us like a list of realtors that you can approved realtors that you can work with. So local realtors, they're Korean realtors that are familiar with working with soldiers and civilians here. So we found one by recommendation, and yeah, we checked out maybe like 7 homes, and then we're like, okay, we'll pick this one. So it was quite fast.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think oftentimes a lot of soldiers, especially younger ones, sometimes they get nervous about living, in the economy, the local economy.
Right.
Because like if you're on the installation, everything is very familiar. You got the US spot, people speaking
You can
English,
speak the
things like
language,
that.
yeah.
But once you go off post, you don't have that luxury. Now, granted, like you just said, the approved realtors, and you still have your coworkers, so you can always reach out, but it may not be easily and readily accessible. So I know some people get nervous about that, but in our cases, I mean, we're almost Korean, right?
Almost.
Yeah,
Korean.
almost. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to live off post because, like, then you can really take advantage of the local stuff. Big thing is delivery services.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't use like Coupang is like equivalent to Amazon in the US.
Yep.
And you get like almost sometimes same day delivery or overnight delivery. You can't get that on the base.
Yeah, correct.
Because those delivery people can't come into the base.
Right. I think for me, the two biggest factor was like we said, delivery, and then the other one was like getting friends and family to visit. Because if you live on base, you have to escort them on.
Yeah, right.
And that could be a pain in the butt.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty time staking trying to escort people.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, so Tae, you weren't here. Like 10 years ago when I was in Korea, during that time, the visitor pass was only for 24 hours.
Oh, really?
So like, let's just say your friends visit you for the weekend.
Yeah.
Then after, say if they come on a Friday, Saturday, you have to go back to the gate.
Take them out.
Yep.
Bring them.
And you have to like re-sign.
Wow.
Right. And they changed that policy to be 96 hours now.
Okay.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, it's still annoying. Right? You still have to go through that process.
Yeah. Especially if you get stuck behind like a large group of contractors or soldiers.
You don't even get started on that one.
I have a funny story about that. When we first got to Korea, we're kind of stuck in the base, right? We're not allowed to leave until we get our CAC card. CAC card is Common Access Card. Basically, your military ID that lets you in and out of the base. So we didn't have that, right? So my wife, she's the sponsor because she was the reason why we came here. She was like tending, like she was doing her work stuff, and then I wanted to like just go outside the walking gate, take the kids out there, and then like get something and just kind of explore. And I thought we could come back with our like travel order, like the paperwork. I thought we could just come in, and then I got stuck because they're like, "Yeah, you can't do that without a sponsor." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm like stuck." It's like 100 degrees out. This is like in like August. It was so hot last year.
Korea gets really hot, people. By the way,
it was like a steaming sauna. But anyways, so I got stuck, and I don't know if I should say, but like the guard is like a Korean guard. The first one wouldn't let me in. He's like, I can't do that. So I tried to call Michelle, my wife, and she didn't pick up because she was busy with work. And so
it was during a work day.
Yeah. Well, she was prepping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I waited for a little bit. I was like, okay, maybe I'll try again. Maybe they'll be nice. And then another guard was there. And then I spoke Korean to him, and then he was very understanding. So he kind of let me go. He's like, don't do it again. But you can't leave without your sponsor until you have your CAC card. So I learned it the hard way.
You pulled your almost Korean card right there. I mean, imagine if you were non-Korean. That might have not worked. It's very possible it might have not worked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
that guard was super nice about it.
Clearly, he got
Yeah.
it. Like, hey, you made a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson. That CAC card is your lifeline.
Yes.
Can't go in or out.
Yes.
So I didn't go anywhere until I got my CAC card, my spouse dependent card.
So like obviously on the installation, I think I kind of want to give like people an overview of what it's like, because we said it's like being back in America, right? Because it's not all about like Humvees and tanks, right? And as a matter of fact, most of the time, the family members are not even really nearby that. Like,
it's like restricted area. We can't really go
right. So you have the PX where it's kind of like a Walmart almost, if you will. You got
PX means post
exchange.
That's like the main area where you can shop.
Right. And then you also have the Commissary, which is the grocery store equivalent. So you'll have a lot of like U.S. Products that you see in a grocery store back in the stateside, which is very nice because I feel like you get to live both sides.
Exactly. I always say you get the best of both worlds, right?
Absolutely.
Because some of the items might be cheaper outside, we say local economy, which is off base in Korean markets.
Right.
Some of the produce, locally grown like stuff is cheaper, but some other American goods might be cheaper on the base. So we can kind of dip our toes in both markets.
Because those are not being imported; they just come through directly to the military, route through our distribution center.
So definitely feel lucky to be able to do that.
I actually thought about that, and if I was living in the Korean economy, I don't know if I would enjoy it as much as having this access. I look at it as such a huge privilege, so I'm actually very thankful.
Yeah, for sure. I think our transition was so much smoother and easier. Can you imagine somebody, especially if you're not Korean, trying to move to a different country, not being able to speak the language and try to kind of start a new life? Whereas for us, it was kind of you just step in, and we can even send our kids to American like public school,
right? If you choose to.
Yeah. So there are elementary, middle school, high school on the base. So and that's where at least one of our kids go. So it was a lot smoother transition, right?
Yeah.
We can always fall back if we
Definitely.
felt overwhelmed. Just step into the base and you have this familiar feeling of
yeah, definitely. And it's not just the schools; they have churches, they have
hospital, library.
Yep. And hospitals like really well equipped too. Normally, if you move here, and let's just say your wife gets pregnant, you can actually give birth on the installation hospital. It's well equipped, so it's pretty good. I mean, we're not missing a whole lot. And on top of that, if for whatever reason the infrastructure on the installation cannot support that, we actually get referrals to go off post and use the Korean economy as well. So you have all those flexibility, which is fantastic.
And also, there are a lot of amenities to having access to base. There's like how many gyms are there? Like,
I would say
5, 6.
5, 6, and there's also like small ones that units have, but the ones that are publicly available, big ones. We're talking, 5 or 6.
So even spouses like myself have access to that, which I feel very fortunate about. So I have like no excuse
free gym membership,
not to go to the gym. Yeah. And it's like I wouldn't say it's like state of the art, but it's well equipped.
It is.
Yeah, you have everything you need. You can do all the free weights. They have indoor swimming pools.
Yep, they have swimming pools,
and
they even indoor running tracks.
Yep. Yeah, and they even have outdoor pool during summertime, which our kids love, and it's
they even have a water park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we definitely took advantage of that. The first summer when we got here, it was like under construction,
right?
But second summer we definitely took advantage because it was like fairly, cheap. They don't like jack up the price.
It is.
So
that's a huge advantage in Korean economy because most places you go to in Korea are just crowded all the time.
Oh my gosh, we've been to one water park. Actually, it wasn't too bad at that time. We might have went during weekdays, but yeah, anywhere there's like a big event or like on the weekend, especially, it's just so packed.
It's not necessarily the insulation or the infrastructure, but I think another interesting thing I want to bring up is the fact that in our case, people who are working on the insulation, we go by, when it comes to federal holidays, we go off of U.S. holiday schedules. And that is
Yes.
actually a huge perk. And what I mean by that is we just talked about how crowded Korea gets.
Yeah.
So, if it's a U.S. holiday, it's not necessarily a Korean holiday. So we get to have that
Yes.
off in the middle of the week.
Mhm.
So Koreans are working, but we're not. And then those days tend to be a little bit less crowded, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a nice little perk.
So our very first Thanksgiving, we actually took that opportunity. We got like 5-day weekend. So we went to Japan.
Nice.
Yeah, we took our kids to Tokyo Disney,
Nice.
which was super fun and super affordable compared to US.
Oh,
Yeah,
tell me about it.
it's like less than half the price.
Tell me about it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great perk.
You just have to be okay with Mickey Mouse speaking Japanese to you.
Yes. Yes.
So actually, speaking of that, I just want to highlight this because the time of this filming is like right around Super Bowl, and we are 14 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
So Super Bowl happens to fall on a Monday morning for us. Now, fortunately, our Army leadership likes football way too much that they decided to give a Monday off for Monday Super Bowl. And that's actually the off day for soldiers.
That's great.
Yeah. They're like, hey, guys, you know what? Don't, just enjoy the day off, party in the morning, rest up, come back healthy on Tuesday.
Yes. So the Super Bowl is like played in the morning time here.
It is.
Right. So people are like at bars in the morning, drinking.
I actually haven't done that all my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all my time that I've been in Korea, I have not done that at a bar. Like I've done it at a friend's house before.
Yeah.
But
let's do it.
I gotta check out a bar scene.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's get some buffalo wings. I know. I love Korean fried chicken, but
something like this.
I miss the buffalo wings from the U.S.
And in an event like this, though, I think you gotta go with some chicken wings, American style,
maybe some pizza.
You know what? Actually, let's talk about that. What about American food here?
Yeah,
that's another interesting one. Not just like at the commissary, but off post, right?
Yeah. So there's a place called the Ville. I mean, you probably know a lot more than I do, but a little right outside the base, there's a little shop, a restaurant area where soldiers and other people who don't have cars can walk right out to, right? And there's a lot of different ethnic restaurants that normally it'll be a little bit difficult to find in Korea, right? Unless you're like in very like heart of like Itaewon or something.
But it's very concentrated right outside the walking gate.
Right. And then not even just food, but like there are like shops where they sell like sports jerseys and other very American goods.
And obviously these vendors are, targeting US soldiers, family members, because it might be tough to get those, right? When you go outside the current economy. So it makes sense that they're kind of concentrated there, which is another perk because there's a lot of like good restaurants there.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Do you have any favorites? Or
I don't know if I want to say favorite, but there is a restaurant called Bride Republic. It's a South African barbecue joint. These guys actually started in Itaewon. That was their first one, and they were so successful they ended up opening up another one in Pyeongtaek, and it is actually right outside the walking gate that Tae earlier mentioned. It is fantastic.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
I haven't been there.
Yeah, Bride Republic.
Right. Yeah.
It's actually really good. And then they have a couple of like small Vietnamese places. They have better pho than the rest of Korea, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. Where was that? It's a Pho Saigon
or Pho I don't remember the name, but like it was a really tiny place with only about maybe 4 or 5 tables. Okay. Yeah. And some good Filipino joints. You always find those, which is good.
I haven't tried one of those.
Yeah, and there's a Greek restaurant too. I haven't tried that either.
One of it's like a Middle Eastern, maybe Turkish.
Ooh, yeah.
It's called Red Onion. We really like it.
Oh, that place is pretty good.
Yeah,
that place is pretty good.
Yeah, I like the food there. So this area is a little bit pricier than I would say other like common Korean restaurants because
I would say so too.
They are targeting Americans, but yeah, if you want like very international food, they even at the entrance they have a little international food guide, like a little map where you can go to different places to eat. Yeah, so there's a lot of different foods, right? Indian food, Filipino, Vietnamese,
You know, they used to not even have that
African
sign.
food. Huh?
They used to not even have
Oh,
that sign.
really?
That's a pretty recent thing. I think they made it like only the last 5 years.
I think even more recently they put up like LED signs by the
Did
the
they?
the road
Oh.
the Rodeo sign.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. When's the last time you've been?
At least several months ago. Yeah, I don't go there
Yeah.
that
Well,
often.
yeah. You don't really live there. I live a lot
You're
closer.
closer.
Yeah. I drive through there pretty often. So
There's even a couple of like good barbecue joints there.
oh yeah. Our favorite is called Smoketown.
Yeah, Smoketown is pretty good.
Yeah.
Smoketown is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because Camp Humphreys, once it expanded, and by the way, we said 40 something thousand people. It used to not be this big. You know, this is a recent expansion that happened in like 2018, 2019. And prior to that, we actually had a few more installation up north. There was one in Yongsan, and there was one in Uijeongbu, which is a little bit north of Seoul. All the units that were located in those two installations, they all moved down. And then the headquarters also moved down, which is a result of the expansion. And because of that, I think they wanted to clean up a lot, so that Ville got a lot cleaner.
Oh, okay.
A lot cleaner. It used to be like pretty like grungy and like
Oh,
dirty.
really?
Yeah, it used to not be like the place where you want to go. That's where all the young soldiers would hang out.
Like lots of bars and dingy places.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. But because of that, it's almost like Itaewon, like 20 years ago. Itaewon used to be kind of a scary place, almost, if you will. That's where the foreigners.
Yeah,
got
there
into
you would see
trouble.
some news like with these foreigner or like they wouldn't let like certain foreigners in, or like
Correct.
they would have a sign up,
Mhm.
right?
But once they cleaned up, it started attracting a lot more people. Kang Ho-dong actually came here. I forget what show it was, but like he filmed something there, and a bunch of like Korean celebrities actually came through Anjongni and mukbang shows. A lot of people did that.
Nice.
Yeah, you can see those on YouTube.
Yeah. I think like Kim Jong-un. I know this isn't our base here, but there's also an Air Force base like 20, 30 minutes up north, right in Osan.
Yep.
And they also have a place similar to the Ville, and I think that place is more famous than.
Is it really?
I feel like they have more famous restaurant, at least in terms of like social media. I've seen they're like, oh, this place is really known for like budae or like hamburger. A lot of like celebrities go there. Like, didn't Kim Jong Un? Is that Running Man?
They may have. I don't know if I've seen that particularly,
filmed?
but I would not be surprised if they did it there.
Yeah, I
would not be
think they went there to like
Yeah.
film, and I think he like announced his like a wedding or like marriage announcement there.
Oh, so that must have been pretty
That
recent
episode, yeah, it was pretty recent.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And Osanville is like you can't miss it. You know the rodeo sign that we have in Humphreys. They have the same thing, but they have like aircrafts on it, like model aircrafts on it. I'm like, oh, that's. I guess you guys are Air Force. You know?
yeah. So I heard that it is more famous because they've been there longer. Like Camp Humphrey, like you said, they cleaned it up and they don't have as much history as
Maybe,
Osan.
but Camp Humphrey has been here for a while too. Maybe this just weren't developed,
right?
But then again, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, how it was prior to that.
So that's what I heard. So I think even the Ville up there, I feel like it's more, maybe more vibrant. I feel like there were more.
I
places.
really haven't been there enough to really know.
Okay.
But size-wise, I think it's a little bit smaller. Yeah. But they definitely have some good restaurants up there.
Yeah. So I think I went up there like once or twice, but I felt like it was more. There's more people, more vibrant.
So, what's it like living in your neighborhood? Because, like, you know, obviously your neighborhood and my neighborhood, we're not, you know, in the same neighborhood, but as far as a vibe, like the way it's built, it's similar, right? Like
yeah,
style.
I would say so. So the base is huge, and then I think a lot of people kind of know the location of the base by the gates. There's like I don't know how many gates, like 5, 6 gates.
About 5, I want to say 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think 5 gates. Yeah,
we live a little different parts, like off the base. But I would say your neighborhood is bigger. It feels more suburban. There's rows of like these single homes. Oh yeah, let's talk about our homes, right? So most Korean people, they live in high-rise apartments or like villas.
Yep.
But we live in these single homes, very American, like almost cookie cutter.
Very cookie cutter. Very
Um,
cookie cutter.
we have front yard. We have 2-story home. It's pretty big.
I mean, if you think about Korea and all the high-rise apartments, most of the time, like, you imagine like 30, 40 floor story
Mhm.
building, nothing more than maybe like 1,500 square feet,
Yeah.
if you got money, I suppose, right? But in our neighborhood, it is very common to see houses that are 2,000 square feet plus.
Yeah.
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 I would assume you guys are pretty big too.
Yeah, so our neighborhood is a little more, I'd say, fragmented, as in,
Mm,
like, we're in this kinda cul-de-sac, and then you go down, there's a little more cul-de-sac. But our neighborhood, our house, yeah, it's we definitely when we moved in, it's a lot bigger than where we live in the US.
and that's crazy. Who'd have thought?
It's bigger.
I mean, this house right now that I live in is the biggest house I've ever lived in.
Mm.
Yeah, and I thought it would not beat my Texas home, but it's actually a little bit bigger.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and that just goes to show you how country it was here because they had the land to
Exactly.
develop all this,
Yeah.
and obviously these developers came here with that particular purpose of targeting American families, making sure that the houses are built the way you would kind of expect back in the stateside, with front yards, like bigger, not just bigger, but like also more bedrooms and bathrooms.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually live really close to, like, the farms. So Pyeongtaek is known for their rice.
Mm,
So I learned that Pyeongtaek has pretty flat lands, which is really good for agriculture.
for sure.
So you can smell the animals in the morning sometimes, but it's
The
funny.
nature smell.
Yes, the nature smell. So anytime we come back from, like, Seoul or something, we can smell the
Yeah.
farm smell. We're
Yeah.
like, we're home."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny, the house that we live in, all of our neighbors are Americans.
Mm, mhm.
So when we're in our home, it doesn't really feel like we're in Korea.
I know.
Um,
As long as you're hanging out in your neighborhood.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, our kids are running around with non-Korean kids, speaking English, and yeah, it doesn't really feel like living in Korea.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I almost like look at that as a positive because I had a chance to live in a Korean apartment
Mm.
because I was also stationed down in Daegu, which is
Mhm.
one of the biggest cities in Korea. Daegu is not very big, but they have a population of almost 3 million people, so it's
Mhm.
it's really dense.
Pretty
And
dense.
the apartment that I lived in, it was like 31 story high apartment with stores and stuff like that at the bottom. So I had a chance to live that experience, right? But there, you're not you don't even see any Americans nearby you because like we're
Mm.
all spread like in
Or
that
you guys are,
big
like,
city.
scattered.
We're scattered. Yep, yep. So you don't see this kind of neighborhoods where we're all like kind of together with one another.
Mm.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that the local nationals cannot live here. It's not that. They
Yeah.
absolutely can live here if they choose to do so, but it just draws more Americans in.
I think for us specifically, that type of living is fine, right? We can speak the language.
Yep.
We're like having this cheat code to
Yeah. Oh
live
yeah.
here.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think I would have been fine in that kind of living arrangement.
Hmm.
But this particular setting, it's suitable for Americans, like, who are not Korean, to
For
just
sure.
plug right in and just kind of
Absolutely.
just just acculturate
Hmm.
pretty easily. So, and I actually like that because we get to kind of be in the comfort of this space, like
Hmm.
this bubble. And if we want to go out, we just drive right out.
You have
And
that flexibility, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So we do like having, like, weekend trips, like, to Seoul, because it feels like we're in Korea when we step out of that subway
Mm,
train, and then we're like, oh, this is Korea.
mhm.
But when we come home, we're like, "Okay, this is home."
Yeah.
So, we kinda like having this option to retreat
Yeah,
back to America
it's
in
like
a
we
sense.
having a, switch at our disposal at any
Right.
time we want to.
Yeah,
Okay, you wanna go to Korea? Cool, awesome. Oh, let's go
right.
back to America.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel super fortunate to be here, and so this isn't my first time around living in Korea. About 15 years ago, I taught English. I might have mentioned it. I taught English, and so I lived in Seoul, and I wasn't in a high. It was like a smaller apartment, but I lived in this cramped space teaching English. I was the typical
Mm.
English teacher, and that's a very different experience than now. I didn't have a car then. I walked everywhere, took the bus.
Oh man, grocery shopping must have been a pain.
Actually, yeah. You know what? I remember when I went to Home Plus. I was like, I need to buy a bunch of stuff the first time around, and I had like 2 huge bags. I was like, I can't take this to a bus, so I had to like get a cab. I mean, that was also a different time because I was single. You know, care about like I just kind of lived that bachelor life.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like,
you know, probably go get away with a lot less.
Yeah,
right? You know, just by yourself.
Yeah. But now, you know, I have a family. I have 2 kids. So we actually have our car. So we actually brought our minivan to Korea because they allow you to bring one car.
Yep.
So we brought our
on government's expense.
Thank you,
thank you, Uncle Sam.
Yes, Uncle Sam. We brought our Toyota Sienna. You don't. So that's another thing too. You don't see a lot of Japanese cars,
right,
in Korea,
right.
Except this area, you see a lot more because
has it been a little challenging when it comes to maintenance of a vehicle?
So I do have to drive a little farther down. There is a Toyota dealership, in Cheonan, which is like 45 minutes.
Okay.
So I go there to get the car checked.
Gotcha.
But engine oil and stuff, you could get it on the base too.
Right.
Yeah. Right. They even have a repair shop on the base.
And I actually asked that because I brought my Dodge Durango. And I tell you, there's like nowhere to get that checked.
Oh,
luckily, nearby our installation, there is one guy that does handle Dodge. And I actually got curious. One time I asked him, like, hey, did you start this business here because you have the U.S. military and you're more likely to get business? And he goes, no, not really. This is actually a central location in the country where a lot of these car maniacs will bring their car from all over the country.
Oh, wow.
And surprisingly, I found out only 10% of his customers are, in fact, U.S. military.
Oh.
Yeah. That was really crazy, surprising to me. Yeah, so apparently, he services the maniacs.
Yeah. I just assumed all those car dealerships are here to service military.
I thought the same thing. I think for the most part they do, but this was a really interesting case. But bottom line is, I don't see many Dodges around.
Yeah. And also, like, the cars are generally, I feel like, smaller. It's such a pain in the butt to try to park a minivan at these garages. So
yes,
we have 2 cars. You can't really, like, when people think of Korea, they think of Seoul, right? And then in Seoul, you don't really need a car.
You can get by without it.
Yeah, public transportation is great. So unless you have like maybe little kids, you don't really have a reason to get a car.
Right.
But here, even the base, like from N10, I want to say it takes like 20 minutes.
Absolutely.
To drive.
It's big.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we needed a car right away. So when we came to Korea, we bought a used car for my wife so she can commute. So we got a commuter car and we also have a minivan. So
right.
It's just like living back in the States.
It is.
You need a car to go anywhere since we're in the countryside.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know what the exact square footages of the land is here. But if I'm not mistaken, Yeouido, which is that tiny little island in the middle of Seoul, in Han River. So I heard that Camp Humphreys is about 5 times the size of Yeouido.
5 times?
The size of Yeouido.
Oh my god!
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you can't walk. You need a car.
So you
absolutely need a car.
I feel like the golf course itself might cover Yeouido almost.
Probably. Yeah, we have an 18-hole golf course.
Yeah.
At Camp Humphreys.
Yeah.
And we have an airfield.
Yeah, exactly.
Where fixed aircrafts actually take off. So
yeah, I drive by there all the time. Right. I'm amazed sometimes. I'm like, just like going to the gym, I'm like, oh my gosh, these like military vehicles are here. And then I forget that I'm on, military installation sometimes. And it's amazing. Like you see this Chinooks and
Chinooks. And that's how like town-like they built it. The fact that you forget it, that you're in the military. It's very like, like a village.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is nice. Which is nice for the families because then I think the goal is to make sure that they can replicate what the life will be like back in the States for the family members as much as possible. So the amenities, like even parks, they have playgrounds for the kids.
Yeah.
All those are available on the installation.
Yeah, for sure. We have bowling alleys, movie theater. what else? There's an art center.
They have arcades.
Arcade,
Yeah.
we have a rec center.
Yep.
Where a lot of the amenities are like kind of unheard of. Like you can, play video games for free.
Lots of restaurants.
Yeah,
Believe it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's so funny because the golf course, you say it feels like home, but I feel like a lot of Korean people who have access to the base. So the base, they employ. Oh, here's another. I thought it was interesting. A lot of service workers are Koreans. They hire local Koreans
Correct.
To work to kind of boost the local economy, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's interesting to see Korean workers behind Subway, Burger King, and Panda Express.
Yes.
Because in the U.S., a lot of those service jobs might be to other immigrants.
Sure.
So, and it's I don't know if you ever have trouble. Like, do I need to speak to them in English or Korean? Like, do you ever think that way?
Or
what? Do you speak English to them or Korean to them?
That's a good question. I think I go back and forth sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's a good question. I go back and forth.
Yeah.
But I think the only time where I feel a little bit hesitant to speak Korean is certain ingredients if I want to ask for it that I know the Korean pronunciation is so off from it. It almost feels cringy for me to say it in Korean. If that makes sense.
Can I have some more jalapeno?
I think a good one is guacamole.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't want to say that in Korean accents, man.
Guacamole.
I don't want to say. Or yeah. I can't think of anything else at the moment, but that's an example.
Okay, so maybe you'll use mix the Konglish.
I will definitely mix it up, but I will not purposely say it in Konglish accent.
Okay,
because it's just very cringy.
It's just awkward.
It's so awkward.
Yeah.
It's awkward. But yeah, I mean, bottom line, it's fun living here because in my case, I still get to keep my job that I would have back in the stateside. Right, I'm still continuing my career path without any disruption to that, and then I can still, and while I'm enjoying two different, countries, Monday through Friday, I'm basically in America. I'm surrounded by my coworkers who are all Americans, and then on the weekends or outside of that, I get to enjoy Korea. I mean, I don't know. To me, I just look at it as such a perk, and I'm actually very grateful that I am Korean. And U.S. military bases are available in Korea where I can have that opportunity.
I totally agree. I think this is the most favorable. I mean, assuming you want to experience living in Korea, this would be the most favorable way to live, especially as a Korean American. If you're working on the base, you're getting paid in dollars.
Correct.
And then you can exchange that and use that as won, which is a very favorable exchange rate.
Absolutely.
So it's again, it's the best of both worlds. The perks are great, and just you get to live in the U.S. and Korea at the same time. So yeah, I really have no complaints.
All in all, I'm just very grateful and appreciative of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Same. Yeah. So, yeah. If any of you guys have questions, leave any comments below. We'll try to answer them. But yeah, that's a small idea of what it's like to live near a U.S. base in Pyeongtaek here in Korea. So,
and if you're almost Korean like us, you'll definitely feel the same perk.
Yeah, come visit Pyeongtaek. Nobody knows where Pyeongtaek is, but there's great international foods. Maybe go golfing.
Yeah.
If you're into that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that's about it, right?
Yeah. Let's wrap up.
All right. Well, that's it for little America and Korea.
Yep, America and Korea.
All right, y'all. We will
catch you. We'll catch you in the next episode of Almost Korean. Peace.